And welcome back to Big Red Wired, everybody. Joined by Sam once again. We figured out some audio difficulties that we faced on Monday going forward. Unfortunately, we're not able to use those today, so we're rolling with the AirPods. But Sam, how are you doing, my man? We got a lot to touch on, from Nebraska adding Berymon to the 2026 class, Brett Maher and Nick Humphrey coaching the special teams, and Nebraska has another coach departing as well.
Yeah, it's kind of been chaotic in the world of Nebraska football over the last 24 hours. You had the news break from Sean Callahan at On3 Sports, Husker Online, our boss, broke the news about the Brett Maher hiring and the bringing on of the extra really elevation of the other assistant. And then you had the Berryman news. And then earlier in the week, you had Josh Martin leaving. There's just been a lot going on in the world of Nebraska athletics in the midst of two pretty solid basketball seasons. And with baseball kicking off next week, there's a lot going on in Nebraska athletics and a lot to be excited for.
Well, let's jump into it, starting off with recruiting. Berryman is a Husker. He is signed today. Already has great size. Now, it's going to be tough for a defensive lineman to come in and immediately play. Just in the Big Ten, naturally, it takes a couple years to develop. But still, I mean, he has that size already. He was the only uncommitted player in Rivals going into today. So I think that if there's anybody on that defensive line that's going to come in and immediately contribute, I think that would be a Berryman.
Yeah, I like what I see in Berryman. He's a big guy, and I think Husker fans are going to be excited to see a 320-pound, defensive lineman, 330 pounds, defensive lineman commit. Will he play right away? I find it unlikely. I think there's definitely, opportunity for him in a situation like a Cade Petschak. But obviously, him not coming in until the fall or until the summer really is definitely going to affect his status. It's not like someone who has been on campus for about a month now. But overall, big pickup for the Huskers. Definitely a little bit of a facelift to a somewhat disappointing, I would say actually fairly disappointing 2026 class.
Well, you knew that Nebraska was going to go small with this class. This at least bolsters it. Of course, they got Tanner Viable from quarterback out of Las Vegas too, not highly recruited at all. I mean, I believe he was listed like 2,700 on when Rivals gave him a 3-star rating. But you close it out on a positive note. You add a defensive lineman. You add yourself another quarterback for depth. Of course, you have Danny Odom coming in, who many think, I believe he could be the opposite starting cornerback of Andrew Marshall as well.
Yeah, and you really like some of the other guys. You didn't even mention Larry Miles, didn't even mention Jamal Rule. Claude Mapuma, I believe is how you say his name. He's another big body, 6'8", 260. So, there's a lot coming from this class. Rex Waterman, Hayden Ainsworth, they definitely added good depth pieces, at least guys that if they're not redshirting next year, they definitely have a shot to play in that third line, maybe a few second line. And like you said, Jamal Rule potentially is going to get some PT with the questions around the running back room. And then Danny Odom, like you said, could very easily be from on the opposite side of Marshall there in the secondary.
I think Jamal Rule is a guy that is going to come in and probably play quite a bit this fall. I'm not saying he's going to come in and carry the ball 15 times per game, but I don't know if Quentin Ives can really carry the load. He hasn't, yes, he's had limited action, but he hasn't done much in that. So we'll see. You normally see running backs come in as a freshman and ball out. Amir Abdullah, Rex Burkhead, a lot of these good running backs always come in and do something. Even Emmett Johnson, we saw flashes of him as a redshirt freshman. So that's why I think Jamal Rule is one of those guys. It's like, okay, we're going to rock with you as maybe the power back going forward. But anyway, Sam, let's dive into Nebraska now. Having a special teams coordinator named, of course, Josh Martin went to I believe it was Liberty Christian High School in Texas. He wasn't going to be in line to be a special teams coordinator. So it's going to be Brett Maher going forward as the special teams coordinator, but Nick Humphrey is the co-special teams coordinator as well.
Yeah, this is really interesting. Brett Maher, former Husker, former Husker kicker. He was very fun to watch when he was here. Overall, pretty consistent kicker. Had some great seasons with the Cowboys there in the NFL. He worked with the kickers and punters last season. And that part of Nebraska's game was overall a positive. Kyle Cunanan was consistently someone Nebraska could rely on. Now, did he have some misses there that you'd like to have back? Absolutely. But you were able to rely on him. And, you look at Archie Wilson, people complain a lot about his net yardage or his gross yardage, excuse me, but his net's pretty solid. They weren't returning; they were getting downfield. Basically, my point being is it was a pretty successful room that he coached. I know that Rule, some of the aspects of what Mike Eckler did, a former special teams coach Mike Eckler did, was that toughness, that physicality, the ability to get down the field. And be explosive in the return game. I don't know much about Brett Maher. There's no way I can go and assume about his personality and who he is. I've never seen him coach. I'm not at practice all the time. But you wonder if maybe the elevation of Nick Humphrey to that kind of assistant role, maybe since he's had some experience with Mike Eckler, if he's going to be able to bring that. I believe he played under Eckler at Tennessee. It had some correlation there with him. So, you wonder if maybe that's the piece that he's keeping to kind of bring that Eckler style play.
Yeah, I really like Humphrey. He walked on to Tennessee, played from 2017 all the way to 2022. I believe he was a 6-year senior and then became a graduate assistant under Eckler. So we had the coaching under Eckler as well as learning from him as a graduate assistant. And of course, coming to Nebraska's past season as an analyst. I love that he was a walk-on, especially for a special teams defensive coordinator. He's going to coach these gunners. He's going to demand that effort. So I think that energy, you should be encouraged if you're a Nebraska fan from that standpoint, because, oh man, Brett Maher has never tackled anybody. Well, there's a reason why Nick Humphrey's here. Brett Maher isn't going to be teaching Nebraska's gunners how to go and tackle somebody, how to hawk roll them off the kickoff,
Yeah, and something I really want to stress is that, our friends at On3, Sean Callahan, wrote that, Mike Eckler handpicked Humphrey to come with him and be an assistant, be an analyst. And I think that really says something. And that just feeds into the concept that, Rule wanted him there still.
I think it'll bode well for Nebraska. He's still going to be, time will tell with this. I don't think that Nebraska's going to have another Ed Foley season, but.
Yeah, I think another thing that you have to realize, and I know that the Eckler quote unquote drama came a little bit late in the portal cycle, but I think something that's big of note is that guys weren't flocking to the portal when these things were kind of rumbling. Even when the rumblings were happening for, a little over a week, you weren't seeing anybody flock to the portal, right? Like your returner, Ja'Cory Barney came back, Kenneth Williams left, right? But it seemed like maybe there was a little bit of encouragement for him to go play the running back position somewhere else. Nebraska wasn't going to probably be able to give him the money that he deserved. But you didn't lose. Jack Willis comes in from the portal, right? You didn't lose Cunanan. You didn't lose Archie Wilson, which was another big pull for Mike Eckler. You didn't lose the other Australian punter. I'm skipping on his name, but that they brought in.
The kicker, yeah. His name is very difficult to pronounce, but the Australian place kicker.
They were still committing to the signing process, and I think that's a big tell sign to how big maybe and underrated Brett Maher is in the recruiting process, but also Humphrey as well.
Absolutely. But now Nebraska gets some titles landed on special teams, loses the guy they brought in last month to coach the safeties. Miles Taylor is going to join Jesse Minter on the Baltimore Ravens. Of course, he's worked with him before at the Chargers.
Yeah, okay. I've been reading our board, and I'm not here to insult the RSS subscribers because we love them so very much. But there's been way too much overreaction. If you had a chance to work for John Harbaugh, I would take it. Or sorry, under Jesse Minter, I would take it.
Say John
right, not
Harbaugh's
John
been
Harbaugh.
fired.
Yeah, if I had an opportunity to go work under Jesse Minter, I would do it. I mean, if I had a job potential to go work in the NFL in the Ravens organization, I would do it. I just. Nebraska's safety room has been a revolving door as of late. You didn't really have anyone set in that position last season, or at least people complained a lot about the play at the third level. He was only here about a month, and he's already moving on. Really interesting to see what Rule has in place here. Now, I would fully expect him to act quickly. I don't expect Rule to waste time. Maybe it's an inside hire. I don't know who that would be, but maybe it's an inside hire. Maybe Orich has his guy that he wants to go get. But I don't expect this process to take take a while. And I don't know how recent this development is, but shout out to this not happening until post signing day. I mean, it broke this morning, but post signing day, post portal closing, I think, maybe if this was information that was held on to.
Well, Addison Williams is the head guy there. So, I mean, it was more so of just an assistant. We're going to throw you at the safeties, you help out type of stuff. But at the same time, it's still not encouraging for Nebraska because now you maybe have to promote somebody within to do that. I don't know where they go from there, but I mean, it's like kind of like the Corey Brown thing. Yes, he's listed as a defensive line coach, but we talked about on Monday, it's Matt Rule, Townsend, Corey Brown, and Roy Manning. He's the edge coach. He's making more than Corey Brown is going to coach the interiors. So it just kind of goes to show you how the defense as a whole is going to be shaped. And Williams has got the backfield. And then at the linebacker position, there's still Rob Dvorak. But, Rob Orich is going to be coaching the linebackers as well. And he's the defensive coordinator. So it'll be kind of interesting to see how this all correlates together.
Yeah, and I think there's something to say there about kind of how Rule expects his operation to run on the defense, right? They clearly trust Addison Williams. I don't think there's any question about that at all, right? They're not bringing in some hot shot. It's not like Orich is going to work with the secondary, directly, right? He's going to work with the linebackers, right? And Rule is going to work with the front four, front five, front three, whatever it looks like for Nebraska. We never really know, no matter what they say the system's going to be. But I think that's really saying that Rule is very clear, it's very obvious to him what the issues were last season. And that is the defensive line and the linebackers, right? The secondary overall was the bright spot of the defense, right? We talked about the pass defense. And I think it's very clear and very encouraging that Rule had a game plan. We're going to need extra help to worry about the linebackers, and that he brought in Orich. And then we're going to need extra help to worry about the D-line. He's going to take that position himself. Backwards Matt Rule is going to take that job alongside Corey Brown, but he's mentioned so many times, even going into bowl season, how excited he is to work with that room.
Well, it was kind of a quick show today, guys, but Sam just released a baseball preview about Nebraska's infield. So go check that out on on3huskeronline.com. Sam, next week, I believe we're planning on having our podcast start up. We'll be doing weekly baseball show. It should be awesome. We're also going to have another guy who played college baseball, and we'll be covering the Big Red as well. Sam, anything else you want to touch on that before I close it out?
Yeah, I'm just really excited for this baseball season. I came into UNL as a first time covering them as a beat. I was with UNO Omaha last season covering them. And, there is a fair amount of guys on the baseball team that I have a connection with. I had a little bit of recruitment from the coaches here at Lincoln when I was coming out of the junior college ranks. So a lot of familiarity around this program. Really excited to see. I think there's a lot of potential on this team. There's a lot of experience. And yeah, just go read the article on 3 Sports, Husker Online. I put a lot of work into it. I'm going to put a lot of work into the beat this season. Bobby and I are going to be tag teaming. So going to be fun this season. I'm excited for the ride.
Absolutely. There's nothing like covering college baseball. It's other than football. Football is always going to be number one for me, but baseball and wrestling's also pretty fun as well. That show will be coming out this Friday. Anyway, guys, be sure once again to follow ourselves on Twitter at bschneider33, at Sam Ojeda 8. Like, comment, and subscribe. For Bobby Schneider and Sam Ojeda, signing off.